it is a double feature. I'm going to say creature feature issue of Words, Images, and Worlds. Go ahead, Bob. Were
Oh
you?
no, I was making a claw hand because you said
Oh,
creature feature, so I was just that's all.
gotcha. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm talking with Bob Franz, who's currently attempting to scare me, I think, and Kevin Cuff. Bob, Kevin, thank you for jumping in. Thank you for talking with me for a few minutes.
Of course, Jason. We appreciate being here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thanks for having us.
Thanks for coordinating with your schedules and families and lives and um, various and sundry stubbles. I think we all have stubble at this point of one length or another in this meeting. And I know that we are here to talk about primarily Skeeters, but we'll also mention a few other works as we go through. This is part of why it's a creature feature, because it just took me back to sort of like the TNT or Sci-Fi Channel movies that I grew up watching, with Skeeters in particular. But then you've played with creatures before in writing and creating as well. So we'll get around to those, but curious about how your collaboration has started.
From the get go, Bob and I met at a weird Comic Con in Pennsylvania. We were at a con in Pennsylvania that we usually don't name to protect the guilty,
Hmm
and
hmm
we were bored out of our minds and spent a lot of time talking and talking about ideas. And after that Comic Con, we decided that it might just be more fun to work together. If I missed anything, you chime in, Bob.
No, I mean that kind of covers it. Kevin, you were just kind of getting started, and I've been
Yes.
just kind of getting started, like getting restarted in my comic career. And it's writing comics is lonely. And I mean, it is. It's
Yeah.
you and your computer machine, and you're just sitting there and you're coming up with ideas. So it's not a very collaborative process. I come from a collaborative process background. I used to do a radio show way back in the day that had like four people on it. So I
hmm
always enjoyed working in a group. Kevin is a very talented musician, and he was in a band, so he's used to a collaborative kind of environment. So I think it just kind of suited our tendencies better to work together as opposing to working alone. And like Kevin and I would just kind of sit on the phone and chit chat like we're doing now and kind of spitball ideas. And you know the the ideas that we came up with were kind of fun to do, and the process was really enjoyable, so we kept doing it. And at the time it was cheaper because we could either afford an $80 artist separately or $160 artist together, so it kind of
hmm
made sense to kind of pool our resources and move forward. I think the most important aspect of it, though, is that it was fun. It was enjoyable to do, and that's why we kept doing it. And the work we were doing was getting better and better. So we just kind of kept pushing, and here we are with Skeeters now through Mad Cave with Kelly Williams and Chaz Bangburn. So it's been a very long and fun road of collaboration.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. And you mentioned a couple of names there that I love. I really enjoy Mag Cave's stuff. They don't pay me to say that or anything like that. No, no one actually pays me to do this, by the way. I don't know if
Well, you're
that's
a podcaster, of course not.
exactly, exactly,
But
which
Mad
is
Cave
fine.
should pay you. But they should pay you to say
Well,
that.
well, there you go. There you go. I do have some lovely bookmarks from them that I occasionally give to my students. But
That's awesome.
yeah, I enjoy Mad Cave. I enjoy what they do and the range of what they publish. But you also mentioned Kelly Williams there, and I was going to ask in particular about that connection and what it was like to work with Kelly on the project.
Kelly was somebody that we've wanted to work with for quite some time, and we just couldn't really figure it out. Luckily for us, him, Kelly, and Chaz, who is our editor, he's worked with us on a lot of our projects, and he's an editor over at Mad Cave. Him and Kelly are very good friends, so Chaz kind of put the three of us together.
Hmm hmm
Kevin, myself, and Kelly. Because, like I said, I love Kelly's work. I've always been a big fan. He's such a wonderful dude. And working with Kelly, as Kevin can tell you, is just the best. Like, it was just so much fun.
Yeah, Kelly brought a lot to everything that we did with Skeeters because he had like a lot of ideas. Because sometimes when you collaborate with artists, they kind of want to just stick to what's on the page or whatever. But Kelly was not that kind of collaborator. He was like, "What if we do this?" Or "How
Mm,
do you guys have a problem if I do this?" And it was really fun because we're used to just letting the artist do what they want to and then reel them back in if we need to. That Kelly was just like, "I have all these ideas, but I want to ask you guys first," and we're like, I think it got to a point where we're just like, dude, just do whatever it is you want to do because it's gonna be awesome. Like
Yeah,
whatever it
like,
is you're
and
thinking
that's
is, yeah.
and that's always a really good feeling too as a writer, especially
mhm,
when you're working with an artist for the first time. Like when they read your script and they say, "Ooh, I've got an idea," or "I like this," or "What if we did that?" That's always a good sign because that means they're interested in the project, not just the paycheck. Like there's
mhm,
sometimes when an artist, a collaborator that you're working with, they're just going to do what they do. They're just going to draw the page. They're going to do the. But Kelly had such a dynamic vision and his own ideas that he pushed us as writers to kind of go further out there with the concept because we had the
mhm,
idea of what we wanted Skeeters to be. Small town gets invaded by these alien creatures that suck blood and get bigger and eventually just wreak havoc on this small populace.
mhm,
Kelly had
mhm,
the idea, well, what if every time they ate something, they kind of took on the characteristics of that creature? So Kelly was making more work for himself because then all of a sudden Kevin are like, "Ooh, let's have him drink cow blood or horse blood," or so Kelly's now trying to draw all these like weird mosquito cow hybrid looking things, and that was all his fault. Like he kept making us go further because he wanted to push the project. And it was a lot of fun working with Kelly. He's such a cool guy. He's so low key. He's so humble, almost humble to a fault because he's just so unbelievably talented. But like he's just got that like all shucks kind of attitude. Like, oh, I
mhm.
stink at this. It's like, oh, dude, like
Like
if I was a third as a talent, and it's crazy.
when we got
And
the
he paints
pages back.
everything.
Yeah, we got the pages back and he was watercoloring them. Like I
Oh,
remember we were flabbergasted with the like actual what it looked like compared to what it looked like in my head. Like
mhm,
it was so much better. And like and I was like, well, we're shooting for this weird like B movie vibe and he got that from like the jump from the time he read the script. He's like, okay, I know like what I want this to look like. And then when he
mhm,
was painting it, it gave it that vibe that we wanted. That like if you were in the alive in the 80s or 90s and in a video store, this could be that B movie that was your Friday night. And that's what we were going for from the get go. And he got it and he just nailed it.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was a really great process. And Chaz is such a great editor and he's so helpful because Chaz will, if you've ever worked with him, he will push you further and further just to like have more fun, make this bigger, do just so helpful and just fun to work with. It was just a really great book to work on with really
mhm.
great people. Like I couldn't be happier with the way it turned out. And like we just saw the final pages. Kelly just finished it. And I mean, it's even like Kevin said, while writing it, you go, this will look cool. But then seeing it, you're like, holy smokes, like it blows it out of the water. It's really it's really beautifully done because again, it's
Mhm.
all watercolored. The colors pop. Like it's just so much. It's a beautiful book to look at, man. Like we're really happy the way it turned out, and it's gonna blow people's minds, man.
Yeah, yeah. And Kelly knows his creatures. I believe when he was on, he had like a man thing, like huge man
Yeah,
thing action figure that he was holding
yeah.
up, and I was like, I need that. So yeah, definitely bringing that sensibility, and it sounds like this was a lot of fun to work on, and also really rewarding to work on for the whole team.
Oh yeah, it definitely was because I mean, Kevin and I first came up with the idea because we were submitting to a kaiju anthology. It was like 13 pages or something. Like just this, we had this small little story with
Hmm,
these three
hmm,
little characters, And we had so much fun kind of writing this little short story that we just kept building and building and building upon it. And eventually it turned into what it became. And I remember when we cracked the story, when Kevin came up with the idea of we've got these mosquito things, how do we get rid of them? And Kevin came up with the most brilliant idea. And it works so well because it fits the story so perfectly. And that just kind of wrapped it all up in this beautiful bow. And it's such a wonderful book. I mean, I know it's a good book because the book starts and ends at the exact same location. And I feel like when you do something like that, especially in a horror genre, like you really just kind of nail it, you know?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm really pleased with the way it came out. Like it's got a good vibe. It's got a good small town vibe to it. We introduce all the characters in the first issue and just kind of let it run itself out. Like it's a lot of fun.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I love that symmetry.
Yeah, and the cool part about it is too, like the first panel. Have you read the book, Jason? Have you seen
Yes,
it?
uh-huh, uh-huh. One of you
Okay,
shared
so
it
like
with me, and
Yep, we
might have
sure
been
did.
Kevin. Yes. Hmm.
so like the first panel of the book is seafood festival. Like you see it right there. So you know at some point we're going to get to this seafood festival and just imagine all of the crazy stuff that's going to happen. So it's like we're just kind of building and building. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode with Poochie. Have you seen the Poochie episode of the Simpsons? Anybody seen this episode where they introduced Poochie, the and Homer's the voice of the rapping dog when they try to save Itchy and Scratchy. Anyway, there's
I'm
a scene in
YouTubing it
that
later.
episode.
Totally YouTubing it later.
Okay, it's a really good episode. The Poochie episode's a classic Simpsons episode. But Millhouse, they're watching the episode, and Itchy and Scratchy are in a car together, and there's a sign on the side of the road that says "Fireworks Factory, 2 miles." And at some point, and Millhouse is freaking out because he just keeps saying, "When are they going to get to the fireworks factory?" Because that's the important part.
Hmm.
That's the whole way I felt writing this book is like, when are we going to get to the seafood festival? And then we do, and it's so much fun. And it's just, the book is just, I don't want to say it's perfect, Kevin, because that would be,
Well, it would sound egotistical. I don't. I would say we've never written horror before. This is our first time. Like we're more humor writers.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we wanted to like take like things that we like in humor and kind of make them horror things, but at the same time still like keep like a dark comedy about the whole book. So
Yeah.
I feel like that tone presents, like Bob said, in the on the first page. It shows the dark humor of Carla when she's talking about the town, and I think that tone carries throughout the entire book, because of the things that they turn into, like we were talking about earlier, and the places where the book goes. Because, like I said, we're not really horror writers, but we were like, well, what can we do that's different for us,
Hmm.
that that reaches a wider audience than what we've had with comedy? Because comedy in comics is very hard.
Yeah.
So it's I'd say it's more difficult than horror. um, but horror was fun, so we're like, okay, now we're gonna establish this is our fun brand of horror stuff. Let's do another horror book. So
and horror is cool. Horror is cool too, being a new horror writer, because there's so different, there's so many different horror genres that you can kind of play with, like psychological horror and this, that, and the other thing. Kevin and
Hmm.
I just kind of leaned into like the kind of creature body horror thing. It's got a body horror vibe to it.
Hmm.
It's definitely a creature feature. And growing up, I loved creature movies. I mean, I even even now, I love a good creature film. Like I can sit down and watch like Creature from the Black Lagoon or like The
Hmm.
Deadly Mantis or and just read The Blob and just really enjoy myself because you know what's coming, but it's just like a different twist on it. Like what's going to make this different? I mean, hell, even the Predator, like a Predator movie, it's a creature film,
mhm.
you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
It's just it's so I've always enjoyed that genre of horror, but it's not like it's because when people think horror, they think like I don't know, Saw or
Right.
Ghostface or so the idea of a creature horror film is different, but it's just a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun to do, man. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the process of it. And again, I really enjoyed the collaboration of it all because it truly was a collaboration because every time Kelly would send us a character design or an idea for a creature and be like, oh, dude, how are we gonna work this in?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it was a lot of fun, man.
And it came about through like a shared love of a weird movie. So I'm gonna plug that just so people go watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
Bob and I were talking about movies that we liked when we were kids, and we were talking about Them, the movie with
Uh-huh,
the
uh-huh.
giant ants, and
Yeah,
and that
Totally. Yes. Uh-huh.
and so we were like, well, we love that, and we're doing this kaiju anthology, so let's do Them instead of Godzilla, because everybody else is gonna do Godzilla. But if we
Hmm.
do Them and it's in an anthology, like you might read 20 like kaiju Godzilla stories, but you're only going to read one giant mosquito story. So like you're going to
Hmm.
remember that. Like that's going to stick out in your brain. Let's do that just because it's weird and it plays to things that we love. So
yeah, it was a really fun book to work on. I really had a good time doing it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And you all have, I'm thinking especially for listeners like me, if I like a book by somebody, you mentioned some of the humor stuff that you've done. So I just want to throw out a couple of other titles there and anything else that you want to mention as well. But
sure.
Metal Shark Bro,
yeah, we
Yeah,
did
Metal
that
Shark
in the
Bros.
future.
Yeah, yeah, Metal Shark Bro is kind of the thing we're most known for. Um, it's a lot of fun. I mean, Metal Shark Bro and Skeeters are totally different vibes, which is
hmm
fun.
hmm hmm
I mean, I think it shows the versatility that Kevin and I can do as writers. We're not one trick ponies, and Metal Shark Bro is just such a great book. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love Metal Shark Bro. I think it's a wonderful concept. Metal Shark Bro was the most fun I've ever had outlining a book because Kevin and I outlined the book. I was driving back from hanging out with Kevin. Like I was driving back from Virginia to Cincinnati where I live, and Kevin and I were on the phone the entire time, just spitballing ideas and like trying to make each other laugh and like just rocking this outline. And we outlined the entire first arc in 6 hours. Like it was just one of those things that just came so naturally.
hmm
And you wish all projects could come that way, and unfortunately they don't. But Metal Shark Bro was just one thing. It's like we struck like the lightning in a bottle. Like it was perfect, and
And
it's a really
go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, I'm rambling.
And I was gonna say the thing that really like showed that like at least for us that showed that we could do horror is the way we initially ended Metal Shark Bro was Satan at the very end of the book comes and this is not a spoiler because it doesn't happen in the book, but um Metal Shark Bro wants to be a shark again if you that's the whole premise, but he turns him back into a shark but leaves him on the deck of the boat. And we found that super funny, the two of us. So we thought that that was hilarious, but when other people read it they'd be like, oh, that's not satisfying. I'm like, no, it's hilarious, and he thought it was hilarious too, but like people are like, oh, no, like that you can't end like that. Like I love this character, you can't end it like that for that character. So we eventually went back and rewrote it, but at first we were sticking to it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's the kind of humor that Skeeter has. So we knew like I don't want to say I kind of predicted we'd end up here in the horror space, but I felt like we could do stuff there as well with that dark kind of ending for that
hmm
character. So
hmm And Ninja Nun is the other one that I was going to bring up as well.
Yeah, Ninja Nuns is the spin-off of Skeeters. It's like the Jeffersons to the All in the Family that is Metal Shark Bro. That was just something we came up with during the pandemic when we did Metal Shark Bro. A lot of people were curious. They had questions like, "Tell us more about these Ninja Nuns." So we had a bunch of friends that weren't working. So during the pandemic, so we said, "Hey, let's bang out an anthology real quick." And Chaz wrote a story that Tony Gregori drew, and we worked with all these great artists and super fun people. We just banged out this like 40-page short real fast,
Hmm.
and had a lot of fun doing it. And Ninja Nuns is exactly what it is. It sounds like it's the punitive branch of the church going out there kicking ass and taking names, and they battle all kinds of adversaries, be it like flying spaghetti monsters, or like what Mary Magdalene brought back from the dead by some necromancer who's a kick-ass DJ. Like it's just this weird book of silliness, but it kind of fits the vibe, and it's a lot of fun, man. Like we do fun comics. Like that's what
Hmm.
one
Hmm.
thing that Kevin and I really enjoy about comics, about the medium, is that you can do anything you want. So why not do whatever you want and make it as fun as possible? I'm not trying to change the world. Kevin's not. Kevin wants to be a serious writer, but I keep dragging him down. Um,
It's not true. I mean, it is and isn't. We have different sensibilities, and I think that shows in like the comics that we do, because like especially in stuff like Skeeters, like a lot of the more serious stuff, like I'd be like, okay, this line doesn't go here, like this has to be a different character saying this, because this is a Luis line, this is not like a Ronald line, for example. So we basically would go through and do that kind of stuff with it, but at the same time, like we both aspire to be as different as we possibly can in anything we do on the page, from anything else you've ever read before.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
and it's not just different for the sake of being different. It's different because if you're gonna buy into an anthropomorphic shark guy, like falling a guy getting falling off a boat and getting eaten by a shark and becoming an anthropomorphic shark guy, we can pretty much sell you anything at that point. So
yeah,
why not?
and the
Why
cool
not
part
do that?
And the cool part about Skeeters is I feel like the price of entry is so much lower because, when you're explaining Metal Shark Bro to somebody, they're like Satan and sharks and yeah, what? But for Skeeters, it's just, yeah, dude, like aliens invade a small town, like alien creatures invade a small
Hmm.
town and wreak havoc on the population, and there's a seafood festival. So you're going to see all kinds of wacky shit. Like there are points where it kind of devolves into Gremlins. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
remember the scenes in Gremlins where like the Gremlins are running through the department store and at the bar. Like there are moments in Skeeters where I felt like we were doing Gremlins, and that's a great feeling because Gremlins is a great film. Like I don't know if
Hmm.
you've seen Gremlins recently, Jason, but if you haven't, I believe it's on one of the streamers. Do yourself a favor and watch it. Like Gremlins is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It stands up.
when I was a when I was a kid, it scared the shit out of me. As a 45-year-old man watching it with my 10-year-old, I was like, this isn't scary at all. Like, what the hell's going on here? I remember this much differently. But yeah, Gremlins, it does kind of devolve into that. And at some points, it even kind of devolves into Gremlins too. So I don't know, because it's so kind of over the top and wacky. But we still try to keep that edge of terror there, and I think it works out really well.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Yeah. And I enjoyed it as somebody I think that also appreciates the creature features. I immediately thought about them. I couldn't remember the name of it, but I was like giant ant movie, TNT sometime. So totally connected those dots.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
Then we did our
visually
job.
enjoyable too. That's
We
right.
did our job. So that's what we were trying to do, was like say, okay, like we like these things. Like you don't have to like them to enjoy it, but like it might aid your enjoyment of the book if you were to go back and watch them, or something like that within that like 80s vibe, because it wasn't really an 80s vibe that we were going for with the book, but at the same time we were going for that low budget B
the
movie that you would
the,
see
kind-
on a shelf.
the familiarity of it, like
Mhm,
Right,
mhm,
right.
the familiarity. Like I know this. I know where this is going, but we kind of flip it on you a little bit. But it does kind of have that familiar vibe to it, which I think works. There's a sense of nostalgia there too, with simpler times, small town sheriff. It just kind of it kind of touches all the right spots,
mhm,
you
mhm.
know, for that kind of vibe. And I
and
think
and
it really works out.
and we also wanted to modernize that too. So if you notice, like all the characters are women or people of color characters who are our main characters, um, and like we would just be like, okay, well, Kankakee is a city like that's like a southern city full of rich white folks. So let's kill all the rich white folks and see what happens. Like with as horrible as we possibly can, and then it'll be more fun and
Yeah.
funny. So let's do that.
And like
And
and then
flip that trope like
and we
around.
have
Mhm.
we have the sheriff Carla. We have her two friends, JJ and Luis, who are exterminators, obviously, because who's gonna know how to fight mosquitoes, even though they're aliens, more than two exterminators. And Luis is like a weird AM coast to coast George Norrie conspiracy guy, like
Mhm.
not like a QAnon conspiracy guy, like not those weirdos, but like the old school kind of like lizard people, flat, a hollow earth, kind of guy.
Flying saucers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
flying
Mhm.
saucer kind of
Mhm.
conspiracy. So it's got a lot of fun vibes to it. I just think it's a really enjoyable piece.
Mhm.
We had a lot of fun doing it. It's a really great book. Um, it hits on all levels. Like it's scary and it's violent and it's gory. It's really gory. And it's funny as hell. Like it's a really, really good comic.
Mhm. Mhm. Agreed. Agreed. So if I'm a listener out there, where can I go and find this comic?
Yeah,
I know
go
that
to go
there's
to
a.
your LCS, go to your local comic shop, get it there. You can go to madcave.com and order it there too. Madcavestudios.com, I believe, is the website. I'm not sure. I don't know if studios is in the
It
URL.
is.
Am I
It is.
telling it
It is.
is? So it's Mad Cave. You can go to Mad Cave Studios and order it there. You can look online. You can go to previews. You can get it through Lunar. Like this will be in comic shops December 6th, right, Kevin?
December 6th, and the final order cutoff is was it
The
OCT or
10th of November.
yeah, and the number is like OCT 2318856.
Here, hang on. I can get it. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Yes,
Give
yes.
me a
That's what
second.
I was thinking about, the final cutoff.
The final order cutoff is
Um,
November. Hold on, I can tell you.
it's November 10th.
November 10th. Yeah.
Yep,
I'll
and
go look for it.
the previews code for it is October 231855.
I thought I
So
had it right.
that's your preview here. So yeah, dude, it's cool, man. We're really stoked about it. It's a really fun book. We had a lot of fun making it, and you should buy it because we want to do more books with Mad Cave.
Absolutely.
And it
Absolutely.
and it's a gorgeous book, and
Yeah, it is.
in no in no way due to us. It's all Kelly. So he made it gorgeous. We just wrote like stupid words, but hopefully you enjoy our stupid words, accompanied by his wonderful art.
It came together well. Now all I need is to decide on the right theme music for this episode. Something creepy, something B movie, something that works.
You could just do Gremlins. Bing, bing,
There
bing,
you
bing,
go.
bing, bing, bing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate both of you coming on. Did we miss anything that you want to make sure to share about the book or web spaces or anything like that?
No, I don't think so, man. I mean, that was the best and fastest 20 minutes of my whole life. I really appreciate the brevity of it. That was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we
Thank
try.
you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We try to hit the essentials. And I also, as I mentioned, I aim for a teacher or young reader audience, and so I try to commute size them as much as possible.
Yeah, totally.
You
It's really good. Really well done.
Thank you, thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate how quick it was. And if people liked it, they can just go to our Substack, www.thewoodbros.substack.com. I believe that's it. But like, um, we accept donations and cups of coffee.
Always, always. Yet another thing we connect on. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Coffee
buddy.
anytime. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, thanks again to you both. Glad to have you back on anytime. As Skeeters, I'm gonna say a bad joke that it flies into the world. That's terrible. That is so terrible.
No, go
No,
ahead.
no, no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no,
Flies into the world is good. We say this book sucks, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. It totally
So
doesn't. It
it
rocks.
sucks,
it
but
doesn't.
it sucks,
It's
but it
really good.
doesn't.
That's
So
right.
It's really good. I'm really excited about it.